Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to address this honorable House. You know, I listened to the member for Tabakit, and I noticed most of the members on his side were sleeping during his presentation. Now, added to which, of all people to talk about not being liked, Mr. Don't worry, we send the money now.
Okay. That is uncalled for. I stopped him. I stopped him when he went down that road, and I'm stopping you now. That is uncalled for. That is entirely uncalled for. We've been getting on well all afternoon. Why are you going there? Don't go there. Come on, move on without...
No problem, Mr. Speaker. No problem, Mr. Speaker. I humbly apologize. Now, the member raised, trotters. And he said, he saw the post on social media. But much like the post that he talks about, you have to read the surrounding story. And that is the important part about when you come to the parliament to speak, right? If you read the actual story, he noted TNT's slow post-COVID recovery and the shifting of consumer spending, which has led to the restaurant industry still reeling globally from pandemic disruptions, facing what he calls an extinction event caused by steep new taxes and spiraling input costs. Read the story. Now, listen, there's so much more that I want to say. As he mentioned, the member for Diego Martin Northeast, and it's hard to see someone come here, struggle with certain things, and then, you're talking to a member of parliament that has been here more than 30 years, whose achievements are taller than your dreams can ever be. Now, he also took time to explain excise duty, and I'm sure the AG appreciates that. So let's talk about the illicit trade item that he mentioned. Now, this is a new item, and if you know how to read the yellow box, you know new items won't have been there before now. So if they're not there before, then obviously there will be no figure, because it wasn't there before. That's how it works. Learn to read the box. So, Mr. Speaker, as a young man that has pursued ACCA, has my MBA, at the core of me, I'm an entertainment industry professional. And today I rise because these particular amendments are an attack on the entertainment industry of Trinidad. Let me tell you why, Mr. Speaker. The member for Tabakit spoke about tourism. Our biggest tourism driver is Carnival. And that is the truth about Trinidad and Tobago, and that's what we need to remember. Today, I rise on behalf of every Boer man that uses punching as part of the ritual, every parangdero who carries on the culture, the pan men who they took away funding from, the mask makers, every masquerader, every DJ, every promoter, and every carrier of our culture and tourism product. This is serious. We have a serious entertainment industry in Trinidad and Tobago, and it is one of our greatest exports to all over the world, without a doubt. And part of that, whether or not you like it, is alcohol. That is, whether or not you like it, it is what it is. It is part of what people come to Trinidad and Tobago to enjoy. Now, let's talk about the government's rationale versus reality. Now, they claim that this 100% increase is well thought out. It's a move designed for a multi-pronged result, namely to raise all this revenue and curb excessive drinking. Now, Trinidad and Tobago is a country, we spend so much money on education, and the people of this country will not be fooled. And when we talk... And I want to go a little more into education here. So if we're going to raise revenue from doing this, why don't we take some of that revenue and put it into an education program to educate people about the effects? It is absent because that is not the point of it. It It is not about people staying away from it. It is about the Minister of Finance trying to raise money and trying to raise a pie-in-the-sky figure that is unrealistic. Now, let's go a little bit further. The members also mentioned on the other side that, we want to carry down road fatalities. Yet, the members on the other side are the ones that removed all the demerit points, all the different things put in place to bring down road fatalities in our country. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to allow anyone to be fooled or let them feel that the people will be fooled by these things. One of the things about this particular amendment when it comes to alcohol and even the cigarettes, one of my constituents, Shannon Walter, she came to me yesterday and she said she lost her job in URP. And she said, MP, I am not a ghost. Now, she also said one of her ways of escaping, just for a little bit, not excessively, moderately, to just escape for a little bit, is taking a little thing. And that's what it is. Now, we're in a situation where that is an increased expense on her. Now, he came here. Now, you all mentioned dry tourism, and again, in 2026, the biggest song will be a song from years gone by. They raise the price of rum in the budget. And let me touch on something else, right? No, relax, Labry. Collateral damage is not what's happening here today. Right? That's not happening here today. Yeah. So, they spoke about consultation. And it's interesting that they came back now to talk about consultation. The consultation wasn't there before, and they still have not consulted with all the stakeholders. I'll tell you why. Barkeepers and Owners Association of Trinidad and Tobago admitted they are still scrambling to assess the impact because 100% increase is something that you really cannot absorb. It's not a minor increase, it's a significant increase. In plain terms, no business can simply swallow 100% jump in tax on its stock. These costs will be passed on to consumers, or else those businesses face ruin. That's one. Let me give you another one. They also say with razor-thin margins, even in good times, this sudden tax doubling is an existential threat to them. Even local manufacturers are feeling the squeeze, including our iconic brewers and distillers like Carib and Angostura. Immediate price increase on popular products to cope with the new duty. They tried to spare some items, but staples like Caribbean and even our beloved rum are going up in cost. Cutbacks, jeopardize jobs, stifle investment. That is what this does. Now, let's talk a little bit about the people that it's going to affect in a very big way, which is the people who are promoters. A lot of these promoters have already sold their Fed tickets at whatever price. This 100% increase now moves them from a profit margin to a loss. This is also so with a lot of the mass bands, because the mass bands have already sold all-inclusive costume packages, and this now puts them in a situation where they will make a loss. The entertainment industry is wheeling when it comes to this one. Now, speaking to one of the band leaders, they said it is a steep increase, and we already priced for the road. Some people already paid off for their costume. We're trying to see if any concessions could be made, but doubt anything will happen there. Another band leader, this move can immediately move our profit position to a loss, and where does it put us in terms of regional carnival competitiveness? You see, increasing alcohol price in Trinidad and Tobago, as outlined by the member for Diego Martin Northeast, puts us in a much less competitive state, where we're not going to be able to compete against some of the other carnivals within our region effectively, because now coming to Trinidad and Tobago Carnival is at an even higher cost. Now, speaking to the Promoters Association, we respectively submit this letter to express our concern regarding the recent increase in alcohol duties and to affirm our commitment to constructive engagement on this matter. As you are aware, the event and entertainment sector, particularly during Carnival season, serves as a cornerstone of national tourism, employment, and economic vitality. vitality, sorry. The timing of these duty adjustments presents significant challenges as promoters have already initiated marketing campaigns, sold tickets, and entered into contractual agreements based on prior pricing structures. In other words, again, from a profit position to a loss position. And I hear the member for Tuna Puna speaking in the background, but I know every time he reads, he, you know. So, the stakeholder engagement, although the Minister of Finance is saying it was there, it is clear from actually speaking to the stakeholders, this was absent. This is not how inclusive policy is made. This is not a democracy in terms of the way they approach this. It's not just a courtesy to engage the stakeholders. It often brings up practical issues and solutions. For example, if you spoke to the actual stakeholders, Minister of Finance, you would have known a stepped increase, 50% now, another 50% a year later, to ease the transition, or a smaller across-the-board rise combined with targeted levies on high alcohol products. It would have worked in your favor. It would have worked. They might have warned the minister about the CARICOM import duty imbalance that was overlooked in so many ways. The 100% hike applies to so many different things. And again, governance on the fly. By sidestepping this meaningful engagement, the government also forfeited public buy-in. A policy like this, if communicated well and introduced gradually, might have been accepted as necessary for the greater good. Instead, it came across as a decree on high, fostering resentment. The opposition, we strongly believe that policies imposed without consensus often fail in implementation. We're already seeing calls in many different areas to mitigate and to end this cost increase. The government now faces industry backlash, public outcry, and this could have been tempered if they listened before acting. Yes. Now, I listened to the minister speak on low-income populations, and he said, there's more use from low-income populations. So therefore, we end the programs that employ the low-income earner. We remove the school book grant, and we reduce the school feeding program. Now the thing the low-income earner does to relax and find a small release from life, you drastically increase the cost. UNC wins, and the poor man is made to spend more. You see, Mr. Speaker, let us not forget the human impact on the consumers, the ordinary men and women of this country. The opposition, we fully support responsible drinking and public health. But again, we notice that in this debate, when it comes to this particular matter, even in the Senate, the Minister of Health has not joined the debate. None. So how can you tell us it is a health issue? The debate is still going on, but he's yet to speak. So we punish the ordinary citizen. So we punish the ordinary citizens and the business community to cover its fiscal gaps. The trust between the people and this government has once again been eroded in just a few short months, and this draconian tax is a prime example of why. We must consider culture and tourism in this particular issue. This is terrible timing, and the government has come across as the Grinch that has stole Christmas and Carnival. And Tobago, I see you found a voice. Are you all allowed to speak today? Are you all allowed to speak? So, and again, as the member for Diego Martin Northeast stated, in Tobago, the bar owners are already reeling about this. And when you talk about different carnivals around the world and different festivals, quite often there are increases in taxes.
Mr. Speaker, 53(1)(e), I would like to hear the contribution of the member. Please.
I think on the lower benches, they've been exchanging it amongst themselves quite regularly. But I will appeal to everyone. Okay, allow the member to continue. The exchange has been lively and healthy, no doubt spurred on by the overabundance of endorphins summoned by the member for Diego Martin Northeast. But let's move on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to continue. I know Tobago's endorphins are rise. They rise up now. And again, because we had a carnival in Tobago recently, and again I say congratulations to all of the cultural practitioners in Tobago, those that came from different parts of the world and contributed to it as well. So what we see in many jurisdictions is when we raise taxes or we raise the price of items in one year, you may not feel it in that year. What happens in continued years, the following year, is when you will see the impact. And I highly suspect that next year you may even see the impact in terms of Tobago Carnival. Now, one of the grave concerns about abrupt tax spike is the magnitude, is the incentive it creates for illicit trade. Now, they mentioned this particular new initiative, and that's all well and good. But in reality, the smugglers will find a way in this particular instance. We have evidence from other nations. In South Africa, nearly 1 in 5 drinks sold is now illegal due to tax-fueled illicit trade. Criminal networks thrive on arbitrage, the price gap that policy creates. Here in TNT, if a case of beer or rum from a nearby duty-free port can be snuck in and sold 30 to 40% cheaper than the tax product, some unscrupulous operators will do just that. That means lost revenue for the state, and what the Minister of Finance is claiming is his figure is even lower. Another unintended consequence is the potential drop in legitimate sales, undermining the very revenue they're banking on. Now, there's a concept in economics called the Laffer curve concept, which even government-friendly analysts have cited, suggests there's a tax rate beyond which people either drastically reduce consumption or find ways around the tax, causing revenue to fall short. And this is exactly what you can expect. Tunapuna, do I need to give you a book to read about this? Further health outcomes might not improve as intended. The price of regulated beer and rum soars. Heavy drinkers might turn to dangerous substitutes. And we all know in Trinidad and Tobago that some individuals seek the home remedies and the more dangerous forms of cigarettes and alcohol. It's something that we have heard about many times. So I also want to go to different jurisdictions step by step so we can look at things comparatively. In South Africa, a country with a comparable alcohol industry, they've seen how excessive taxes can hollow the legal market. Over the past decade, their heavy sin tax contributed to a thriving illicit alcohol market, now comprising nearly 20% of all alcohol consumption, costing that government around $16.5 billion in lost tax revenue last year. So again, we see the impacts that it can have. This evidence tells us that beyond a certain point, high tax yields diminish returns. If people stop buying legal drinks or find ways to evade the tax, the state could actually collect less revenue than expected. Again, the classic Laffer curve in action, and the government perilously close to the tipping point where tax hikes backfire. Now, when we look at the UK, about a decade ago, the government attempted an alcohol duty escalator. Yearly increases on beer, wine, spirits, taxes above inflation. After a few years, the policy was met with fierce industry and public pushback as pubs closed and beer sales slumped. By 2014, the UK scrapped this escalator and even cut beer duty for the first time in decades. Kenya, just last year, the Kenyan government included steep tax hikes on fuel and other items, including alcohol, in a finance bill. The result? Massive public protests erupted nationwide, with citizens saying it increased the cost of living. And we expect a similar situation here in Trinidad and Tobago. In Canada, people had to move to some provinces raised the taxes, and people just went to different provinces to buy their alcohol and bring it back in. In Australia, they once imposed a very high tax on certain premixed cocktails to curb youth drinking. Savvy consumers just switched to other spirits, home mixes, and even the black market of alcohol. So importantly, tax hikes have led to revenue declines if we look at different jurisdictions. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the opposition is not arguing for alcohol to be dirt cheap, for the government to abandon its revenue needs. We are arguing balance, fairness, and common sense. This particular order and these accompanying orders are well-intentioned on the surface, and we do not buy what the Minister of Finance is turning it to be. These U-turns or negative outcomes, we're just not buying it as an opposition and as a people in Trinidad and Tobago. We urge the government to reconsider the policy before lasting damage is done. At minimum, implement a more phased approach, perhaps reducing the excise doubling to a 50% increase now and maybe a remainder in a year. Earmark a portion of the new revenue to actually fund alcohol abuse treatment and education. Give credence to the public health rationale, and by all means, step up the enforcement rigorously if these taxes remain. Do not let the black market undercut our legal business and siphon away the funds you hope to gain. And again, I urge you to meet with those involved in the entertainment industry in Trinidad and Tobago. Independent Senator Lalit Etienne said it best. This government needs to level with the population on the hardships to come. This is yet another hardship put on the people of Trinidad and Tobago by this government. So, Mr. Speaker, St. Augustine, let's keep on a swift path. So, Mr. Speaker, for culture, for tourism, for entertainment and industry, I hope to raise my glass to good sense and not this bad policy prevailing. I want us to be in a good spirit and be able to enjoy a good spirit. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.